Hi everyone, welcome to the Core Vitality Summit. We are very lucky today to have Lauren Henry with us. You may know Lauren from Instagram for the love of lime. She's on there on Instagram on a regular basis doing loads of amazing things. Welcome Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Lauren, would you mind just giving a brief introduction to what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. So what I do is I am a health coach, and so I help guide people, in terms of their diet and sometimes with supplementation towards, just getting healthier and helping them to, hopefully reverse their chronic illnesses, and just all through natural methods. And so, yeah, that's what I do. And I do the Instagram stuff, which is lots of fun. And, yeah.
Okay. And your own personal story, Lauren, I think is key to all of this. And with the interviews, we're really trying to get over a message of hope. So would you mind just sharing a little bit about your own personal story, where you were and where you are now?
Yeah, certainly. I'd love to. So I guess to start, I'll start with when I was very young as a baby, and I didn't ever really have any major health issues as a kid or as a baby, but I did have certain things which, considering what, I was dealing with when I was chronically ill, it makes a lot of sense considering that I had certain things as a baby. So anyway, to start there, when I was a baby, I, on and off would become constipated and, from the get-go just had some digestive issues. But like I said, it was nothing terrible or super serious. And then as I got older, I would have things that seemed very normal, like, strep throat, ear infections, and as I got older as a kid and like through high school, I didn't really have any digestive issues. But like I said, it was all nothing major. And then when I moved away to college, I moved from Pennsylvania and I went to school in New York City. Things really started to change. I started having chronic constipation again and lots of gas and bloating and not really understanding why, and was just trying, over-the-counter, meds to, fix it, like, all the laxatives and stuff that's out there, but none of that really helped. And at the same time, I had also stopped getting a period, so I stopped menstruating. And that was just very puzzling as to why that was happening as well. And so this continued throughout my whole entire college career for the whole 4 years. And over time, I just started getting more and more health problems. Like I started having more anxiety. And then one day I just had a terrible panic attack and had just all this brain fog come over me, and it was really scary, and it just never went away. And after that there was just a lot of the anxiety just like built up, and so did the brain fog, as well as depression. And because it started like that, I felt like a lot of my health symptoms were just because I was depressed, or I was someone who was anxious, or, just because I was under a lot of stress, or like, something was wrong with me mentally. And it was really hard to deal with that, and it made me feel very weak, or like there was something, like I said, something wrong with me. And so when I started, on this health journey, I really felt like I was just one of those people who, had a mental illness, and I was really depressed. and dealing with, I think they call it disassociation, with the brain fog. And then, over time, I wasn't getting better no matter how much therapy and support I was getting. I wasn't getting any help. And then someone had mentioned to me that there could be a physical, component to why I was feeling, to what I was going through mentally and emotionally, and why I was having such brain fog. And it just clicked for me because I was also having such digestive issues and like hormonal issues as well, hormonal imbalances. And so that was kind of what took me down, looking towards, healing my body and healing myself physically in order to heal my brain fog and, the anxiety and depression that I was dealing with. And so, I went to many different doctors and, got diagnoses of, thyroid issues, PCOS. It's hard to remember them all really, but finally I had gotten a diagnosis of Lyme disease after about, after about 6 years of going to doctors and trying to figure out what was going on. I did go to see a Lyme specialist eventually and get tested, and he had said that I tested positive for Lyme. And, even before this, I was doing all different sorts of diets to try to heal myself, like I tried a regular just vegan diet. I tried just going gluten-free, which helped. And then I tried also eliminating dairy, which helped a little bit. And I also tried a paleo diet and a ketogenic diet, but none of it helped completely. And I'll just also add too that while this was all happening, I was, also doing, a lot of emotional and spiritual healing as well. And it was all really, it was helping to some extent, but it just wasn't the whole answer. And I just always felt like there was a missing piece, because I wasn't recovering fully, and I was only getting a little bit better. And so when I had gotten diagnosed with Lyme disease, I felt like I had finally found the answer, and it actually was a relief, because at least I felt like I said, I had an answer. And so I decided, even though I was very much against taking antibiotics, I decided, that was what I was going to do, and that, there was hope in that. And then a month later, my boss had mentioned to me this book called Medical Medium by Anthony William. And, at that point I was really reticent and skeptical about a lot of the information that was out there because of my past experiences and not getting tons of help from, different diets that I had done. But I decided to just, go to Barnes & Noble and just look at the book and maybe decide to get it on Amazon or something, because Amazon's always less expensive. And, and I looked at the book in the bookstore, and I read the Lyme chapter, and I looked through some of the other chapters as well, and I just knew instantly, like, everything just clicked, and it all made so much sense, everything and all of the symptoms that I was going through, that I was like, I can't not buy this book right now. So I purchased the book and took it home and read the whole thing, within a couple of days, and just immediately felt like, what he was saying to do was what I needed to do. And I decided to do it. And, I was a little bit scared to stop taking the antibiotics at first. But I decided to take myself off of them, and that was what I did. And I found so much help in, doing what he said to do. And, because, it was such, I noticed such differences right away and just felt a lot better right away. I just knew that it was the right thing. And I know that's not everyone's experience with it, but it was mine, and I just really resonated with the information. And so now I've been, adopting his information to my life for the past 2.5 years, and I have healed so much. And, certain things have taken longer to heal, and, certain issues, like, for instance, my digestive issues, sometimes that still goes up and down, but for the most part, I feel like I'm 90% better, and I don't have hardly any of the symptoms that I used to have. And I just mentally and emotionally feel like a different person than who I used to be. And
yeah, I was just going to ask you, how did you feel when you look back? Is it from, listening to you the way you are and to imagine you in that state, do you have, a sense of disbelief, when you, was that really me? Was I really like that? Or was it sounds like night and day, the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can remember, how I felt very well, and I just, it's not that I have disbelief that I could feel that way, but I don't know how to put it, but it's just like when I was at that point, I never believed that I could actually get to where I am today. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that's just so amazing to me is that, at one point I felt like my brain fog was never going to go away, and that I was just always going to be an anxious person, and I was always going to need, tons of support from the people around me and emotional support. And I do think that's really important to get no matter what, mm-hmm. but I just figured, I was always going to need help from someone, and that, and that I wouldn't be able to do things on my own, and I never felt like I would get to where I am today. And that is just such a blessing. And I just feel like I'm better than I ever imagined myself to be, mentally and emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah, there's so much power in your story and what you're telling, because I think sometimes if you have really bad brain fog, it's so bad you don't know you have it. It's just like a state of confusion. But that mm-hmm. when you're in it is really hard to think that you can be out of it, that you're not always going to be in it. And that's kind of like the essence of what we're doing in the interviews, really, is to capture these stories so that, somebody might actually think, oh my goodness, I could actually get out of this situation, maybe this is not going to be me forever. So thank you so much for sharing it. It's just really powerful to hear you. It's actually amazing, the transformation from what you're describing to what you are now. I wanted to ask you, when you did, I know you said you had already gone gluten free and made some other changes, but when you started to follow the medical medium protocol, when you got the book, did you have support in your healing path as well as having had support in your kind of in your sickness or your anxiety and everything? Did you mm-hmm. was it easy to make the change to eat the foods that he was recommending?
Mhm. You mean support from other people in my life?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am very grateful. My mom was always super supportive of dietary changes that I made, and so she was just always encouraging me to follow what I felt like I needed to do. And she was awesome because oftentimes when I would make dietary changes, I was living with her at that point, but when I would make changes, she would also do the same thing. And so that was just an incredible amount of support that I received from her. And, you know, and just going through the ups and downs emotionally with healing. And, you know, she was always there for me. And that was just, yeah, amazing. And I'm so grateful that she was able to be so supportive and there with me through that. And but yeah, I did, you know, my other family members too, they were supportive in other ways. They didn't all, you know, follow suit with the dietary changes that I was making, but, you know, they were always just, you know, like, you know, do what you got to do, and, you know, I support that. And so that was really helpful as well. And, yeah, and just, you know, in the beginning and, you know, throughout some of my healing journey, I went to therapy and got support in that way. I went to other kinds of support groups and found a lot of support in that. And, you know, I worked at a wellness center, and so I was able to get a lot of support from other healing modalities like energy medicine and Reiki and meditation, and just, you know, reading a lot of different books too about, you know, healing the body on an emotional level and spiritually. So, yeah, I did get a lot of support in that kind of a way, and it was really helpful. And I know some people don't always have that kind of support available to them, you know, from their family at least, but I think, you know, either through books or, you know, through, you know, the Instagram medical medium community is super supportive, and that can be really helpful. But there are different ways to find support, and, you know, no matter what your situation is, and I think that's still important to draw on.
Yeah, and it probably, yeah, you're very lucky to have had that support, but you've received it, and now you're giving it through what you do on Instagram as well, and the different things that you do and your posts, and they're really very inspiring. And I think it could be you know, for some people it's the difference between if you do it or you don't do it, you know. I certainly did a lot of it just by myself, and I had a lot of, like saying no food knocking about at home for sure, which doesn't make it easy. But if you know that you're not in it alone, I think just knowing that someone else is going through it is definitely very helpful.
Exactly.
Lauren,
yeah.
Just to go back a little bit, so you said you were very lucky and you started to feel better. You know, you knew after a few days that you were doing the right thing. Is there anything you can pinpoint that you kind of like really noticed that was having a positive effect on you when you started to make the changes?
Yeah, definitely. So like I mentioned, one of my major issues was digestive problems, and I had been doing a very high-fat paleo diet, and although that's very healthy in a lot of ways, a lot healthier than the standard American diet, it was just, I had felt like I needed to take a break from eating meat. I really had no desire to eat it. I had no taste for it really. And the only reason I was eating it was because, you know, I was reading, you know, paleo books that were saying to eat meat. And so when I did read the medical medium book and looked over the 28-day healing cleanse and saw that it was plant-based, you know, and applied that to my life, my digestive system, I think it just felt such a relief from not having such a burden of digesting, you know, animal meats, that that was just a huge improvement. And I felt a lot better about the food that I was eating. And, you know, my body was just able to process and digest it better. And, in addition to that, I think also having celery juice on a daily basis every morning, first thing in the morning was, that was just like another really powerful thing. And I could really feel like my body detoxing and, just cleaning itself out, I guess you could say, with doing the celery juice. And that just felt really nice because for the first time, like I said, I felt like I was able to digest my food. I had finally, felt like I could eat throughout the day, like when I was doing, when I was still eating meat and eating more paleo, like I had no appetite. I don't know, I was never hungry. And for the first time, after doing the celery juice and stopping eating meat and any animal products, I started getting hungry again, and my appetite actually built up, and that was really nice as well. So those were like the first very noticeable and very powerful changes that I experienced.
Yeah, I think they're two of probably the most powerful ones that there are. I think just when you take away meat, it is a relief. You take away a stress on the body. It's certainly been my experience. And I also wanted to ask you, like, what does your diet look now, like just on a daily basis, briefly?
Sure.
So it's plant-based, and yeah.
Yeah, so right now, so Medical Medium has another book called Thyroid Healing out, and in the book there's a 90-day thyroid rehab plan, and currently I'm doing it, and I'm in month 2 of that. And so what that entails is having celery juice every morning, and so I do that every morning, and then I have 2 lemon honey ginger waters every day. So what that is I take, I do 24 to 32 ounces of water, and I squeeze a lemon in it, and then I grate ginger into it and also stir some honey in it. And I have that 2 times a day, and then in the evenings I either have aloe water, which is aloe vera gel mixed with water. So I have that in the evening, or I have just a plain cucumber juice. And as far as, the foods go during the day, I am entirely plant-based. I am entirely grain-free. I eat pretty low fat. If I have any fats, it's, in the evenings, and it's usually just a little bit of avocado or maybe a little bit of tahini or a little bit of cashews or something like that, or pistachios. But like I said, it's all grain-free, all plant-based, and low fat, and it's mostly raw. So during the day, I eat lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, and I also incorporate 5 specific foods that Medical Medium talks about for detoxing heavy metals. And so those foods are wild blueberries, cilantro, barley grass juice powder. Another one is Hawaiian spirulina, and the last one is Atlantic dulse. So I make sure to have, each of those things every single day, because that's a part of this thyroid rehab plan that I'm doing, and those things are important for detoxing heavy metals. And so yeah, that's basically what my diet looks like. And then in the evening, sometimes I'll have some cooked potatoes, either white potatoes or sweet potatoes, or some kind of winter squash, or steamed veggies. But yeah, that's I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it sounds all very familiar. What about your sleep, Lauren? Have you ever was your sleep an issue when you were having all of your other issues?
Yeah, so there was a point when before I had graduated college, and it was probably one of the hardest parts or the hardest times in, my chronic illness. And I had serious insomnia. I was barely sleeping, and, I had a lot of responsibilities at the time, so it was really stressful. So I was only sleeping maybe 2 hours a night. And that was really a traumatic experience. And so ever since then, I had a lot of, I think it's PTSD from that, and just a lot of fear around going to sleep. And so any time that I would notice that I was getting less sleep, I would have a lot of fear and anxiety, and that would cause me to have even less sleep. So, I had a difficult time with getting sleep at times, and and that's really, really hard to deal with, in so many ways, and that's a lot to talk about. But with healing, I've kind of noticed that there is a very clear link between, our physical health and our ability to sleep. And now that I understand that and what causes, poor sleep, or what causes, you to wake up in the middle of the night, it helps calm a lot of my fears around sleep. And it's been able to help me get better sleep too, because, once you know what the underlying cause of it is, you can, do something about it. And so now that I know that, I'm able to get a lot better sleep. But yeah, I think initially, especially, when I first found Medical Medium, I was also experiencing some difficulty sleeping, and looking back on that, I realize now that, it was because I was eating a lot of raw foods, which causes your body to detox more, and and there were times when I wasn't eating enough food, which also can allow you to not sleep as well. And but I've come a long way from all of that, and I do get decent sleep most nights now. And usually I do wake up once or twice to use the bathroom, because I drink a lot of liquids during the day. But, for the most part, I do get a good, anywhere from 8 to 6 hours feels really good. And most nights I'm able to get that amount of sleep.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can 100% sympathize. Actually, I've had the same issue with sleep. And I think that it's the digestion as well. Like you said, the eating too much raw food. I've had it a lot actually with the not eating enough food. So I'd be waking up. There was a time when I would have to go to sleep with a banana next to me, and I might wake up during the night, eat the banana, and go back to sleep. I actually, I still have it handy, to be honest. But I think it's a few times worse than the lack of sleep. It's like whatever you have, the lack of sleep just multiplies it by 100. Like if you've got anxiety and you don't sleep, then it goes through the roof. So yeah, I understand on the sleep part. But I have also seen a really strong correlation between just everything that I'm doing really, and the sleeping. And I'm always really grateful to be able to sleep through the night now, because there was a time where that just wasn't the case. I was either going to sleep and waking up, or not being able to get to sleep. I think that's a big issue. And I realise myself how it is. It's linked to everything I'm doing, and I must say I have some supplements that I did take melatonin, the one Anthony recommends, for a while, but I ran out and then realised I was sleeping fine anyway, so that's okay. But there's another few things that he recommends that I still take, but it makes such a difference to wake up in the morning and you've slept all night, you know, or like you've got between 6 and 8 hours sleep compared to 2. It's really, you can get on with your life. And I think it helps you to eat better as well. It's all kind of like, seems to be related that when you get a better sleep, you somehow have more energy to then take more care of yourself as well. When you don't have that energy, you don't have that little extra bit of energy to make the effort, you know, and maybe, because sometimes making celery juice is, it's a bit of a pain, you know. It's like I get my daughter up and running to work, I'm like, oh my goodness. I actually watched one of your videos the other day on you doing your celery juice, and you have the machine ready the night before, is that right? I think you said.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that if I know the next morning is going to be really busy. I'll prepare everything and have it all ready for me to just do it, you know, when I'm still half asleep, right after I've woken up, and it helps so much to to still do it.
The other thing I saw you, it helps. And the other thing I saw you do the other day, and I've just started to do the same, was you had your vitamin B12 next to your bed, and you just woke up and took it immediately.
Yeah, exactly, because that's one of those supplements that should be taken in the morning and on an empty stomach. So it just helps so much to have it right by your bed, and you can do it first thing, and then you don't have to think about it again, unless you take it again in the afternoon or something like that. But for me, I just take it in the mornings, and it's just perfect because, you know, sometimes, I can forget things if they're not, within my sight, like the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. So I try to keep certain things, visible, and, having the B12 right there, when I see it in the morning just helps me to remember to take it. And, it's a really great one to do if you forget to take your supplements sometimes. Yeah,
I try to have them visible really as much as possible, because just to remember. I think with certain ones I'm so used to taking them every day that I'll find them. They're I can open the cupboard door, but there's other ones that I like to have them visible to make sure that I'm going to see them. Yeah, that one was really useful. I've got one beside my bed and one beside my daughter's bed now. We've actually come to the end of the time. Lauren, thank you so much for sharing this with us. If you had to kind of like give some advice to someone who's really, who's in it right now, who can't see the way out, they're struggling with such a lack of vitality or energy and motivation, any of these things that kind of, or the anxiety, the depression, what kind of like advice would you offer someone just to get them on the right path?
Yeah, and that's such a humbling place to be, but extremely difficult, especially when it's day in and day out. And I think it's important when you're in that place to just accept that in that moment that's where you're going to be, but it's not going to be like that forever. And even if your mind is telling you, it is going to be like this forever, and, you can't see how it's going to be different, I just know with my experience and seeing other people heal, and at different rates seeing other people heal, that, you can get through it, and, it will change. Something will shift eventually. And so, take the time right now, like when you're so, just whether you're bedridden or just really fatigued, take the time to just connect with what makes you feel good emotionally and spiritually, whether that is, the angels or a God that you believe in. Connect with yourself too. Connect with, your spirit and your soul, and, just also find ways to, bring some light into your life. And, by that, I mean, find ways to, smile, or, and by that, I mean, like, watch funny videos on your computer, on YouTube, or, watch a funny movie, or just even think about, funny memories, and, just learn to laugh at yourself too in certain ways, because it's so easy to just take things super seriously and all of your symptoms seriously, and it should be taken seriously, but if you're doing all the right things to heal, and things aren't changing right away, remember that you are healing and that you're doing all the right things, and that if there are some lingering symptoms, rather than getting down and out about them lingering, just laugh at them, because you're in the process, and you're healing, and just find a way, I guess, to bring light to them, rather than getting down about them and making yourself feel worse. Just like I would do that with my brain fog. That took the longest to heal, and when I would be forgetful, or just feel super out of it, I would just have to laugh at myself, and just know, though, but just like keep in the back of my mind that it was healing and that it was going to get better, and that it's just, life is just funny like that sometimes, and so I don't know if that made any sense, but
no, it did. It made perfect sense. Thank you for that. That was some very good advice. Lauren, where can people find you if they don't know you on Instagram? That's mainly where you hang out, isn't it?
It is. It's mainly where I hang out. So my Instagram is For the Love of Lyme, all one word, and but you can also find me on my website is laurenhenryhealth.com. And you can I post all of my YouTube videos there, and which reminds me, you can also find me on YouTube at Lauren Henry Health. I just started that somewhat recently, but like I was saying, on my website, I post all of my YouTube videos there, and there's other blog posts that I have there, as well as blog posts with recipes that you can eat and make for yourself. They're very healing. And, just other tips and tricks I have for emotional health, as well as, how to exercise, on a healing protocol or as you're healing. So, there's all sorts of things on my blog. And, you could just shoot me an email even if you want to connect and need more support. So, those are the main ways that you can find me.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. It sounds like you have loads of interesting information out there. I'm so grateful for you joining me here today. Thank you very much, and I'm so happy that you're now sharing with people your experience and what you've been through, because I do think it's very powerful, and I'm sure you must be able to help so many people. So thank you for all of the work you do too.
Oh, well, thank you, and thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to be here, and I'm just so grateful to be able to, help people, and I understand what it's like, and I just, I understand how important the support is, and so I want to be able to share that with other people, and it's like such a blessing to be able to do that. So I love it, and super grateful.
Thank you.